Hello everybody and welcome to my postmortem for my Ludum Dare 40 game entry, which is a game that I called Turbo Laser Arcade. This was a submission for the compo part of the game jam, which means that I made everything from scratch within 48 hours. And I think I came up with a pretty decent game, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So first off, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you very much for stopping by. On this channel I do a lot of independent game development related things, so if that's something that interests you, consider subscribing to the channel. Go check out my other videos. I have over 60 videos on independent game development related topics. For the most part, I've been doing a twice weekly vlog and attending some other game industry events, and I got a lot of really cool stuff planned for the near future, and you won't want to miss that, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyways, plug for the channel aside, let's talk about my Ludum Dare game, which is once again called Turbo Laser Arcade. It's a pretty fun and simple little game, and it doesn't take too long to beat, so I would highly recommend playing it before watching the rest of this video, just to give you a little bit more context on the game overall. I'll leave a link to the game down in the description below, and you can use that link to play your game right in your web browser if you're playing on a computer. And if you don't have the means to play my game, that's fine. I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is, and I'm going to be showing some screenshots and some video footage of it. So go ahead and take your time, enjoy the game, play it, and come right back to this video when you're done. Hey, welcome back. Thank you so much for playing. I hope you enjoyed it. So Turbo Laser Arcade is essentially a retro-cyberpunk style tower defense game. And by the way, if you didn't already know, the theme for the Ludum Dare 40 game jam was the more you have, the worse it is. Anyways, Turbo Laser Arcade is just a pretty standard and basic tower defense game where the enemies have units that come down the path and you're supposed to build towers around the path, and those towers will, shoot the enemies and kill them. However, if any of the enemies make it all the way through the path and go off screen, that means you lose a life. Lose 10 lives and it's game over for you. So now that I gave you a basic little overview on what my game is, let's talk about what went right in my development, because I think there's a lot of good things that came from this game jam, so I'd like to share those with you guys right now. So first and foremost, I am just super excited that I was able to make a complete game that I'm actually pretty proud of. The core tower defense mechanic is complete and it's super stable, which as a programmer makes me very happy. There's perfectly good functioning win and lose states, and there is some decent strategy involved in the game. So overall, I'm just super pleased that I was able to make a complete game within 48 hours. And most importantly, I did not permanently delete my project this time around, which I did in the Ludum Dare 39 game jam. Definitely go watch the postmortem on that video because it's actually kind of a funny story. Now, the next thing that went right is I decided to use my old laptop to make this game as opposed to my new one. I just picked up this sweet Asus GL502VS. I know the name rolls right off the tongue. This is a very powerful laptop, and I've been extremely pleased with it in the short time that I've had it. And I do plan to make a deeper video on that laptop specifically in the future because I think it's a great laptop for game developers. However, I haven't fully transitioned over from my old Asus laptop to my new one, so all my development stuff is already set up on the old one, and there's a bunch of like little art assets and stuff that I can use that are on that laptop already. And going into this, I was kind of considering using the new laptop, but ultimately I decided to just go ahead and stick with the old one, stick with what works. And there are a few times during the development that really reassured me that I'm glad that I made the decision to use my old laptop, because there would have been a bunch of wasted time installing programs on the new one and moving files from the old one to the new one. And so maybe if I would have taken care of some of those things before the Ludum Dare game jam, I probably would have been fine, but that didn't happen. So I was stuck with the old PC, which is still a perfectly capable computer, and I didn't have any real major issues with it over the 48-hour game jam. Now, the third thing that went right in the game development was that I think I came up with a really cool art style. Now, I'm certainly no artist. As I mentioned, I am a programmer, so any sort of decent looking art that I make makes me feel super happy, and I'm super proud with my logo and kind of how the game looks overall. I know the gameplay is pretty simple and it's just a bunch of geometric shapes and stuff like that, but I think it kind of all fits in the style, and if I had more time I would have definitely put more effort into the art side of things just to make everything fit into the theme a little bit more. Now, I'm certainly not the first person to use this retro cyberpunk style thing for a video game, but that's certainly how I wanted this game to look, and I feel like I did a pretty decent job of kind of recreating that, even though if most of my art stuff was directly following some online tutorials. For the turbo and laser part of the logo, I actually followed an online video, which ironically was also using the words turbo and laser to show off these art techniques. I'd actually chosen the name Turbo Laser Arcade right before I found that tutorial. I was actually scrolling through an Instagram page called @synthwave1989, and that page has a bunch of pictures of this retro cyberpunk style theme. So I was just scrolling through that to get some inspiration, and I came across this picture, which I put up on the screen right now, and it says, "What's your synthwave name?" And so if you go through and you pick the first two letters of my first name, J and O, you see Turbo Laser, and the month I was born in, which is November, you get Arcade. And right after I did that, I thought that was super funny. I am Johnny Turbo, as y'all know, and so that name was just super fitting, and it stuck right away, and so I'm like, that's the name that this game is going to be. So anyways, just super happy with the art style and name of the game. The fourth thing that went right is that I have a short and hopefully memorable play experience. I feel like when people are judging these Ludum Dare Game Jam games, they probably just want to jump in, play the game, see what it's all about, and then go back to the page and review it. You know, they don't want to get stuck in this like endless loop where the game never ends or it just keeps going on and on forever. I just wanted to have the player to have a nice short and positive experience with my game before they go ahead and rate it. And so I kind of designed the game where you should be able to beat it on your first try, but if you don't beat it on your second try, you'll definitely be able to beat it on your second try. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with the gameplay length and player experience overall. And the fifth and final thing that I'm going to talk about what went right in my game development was the lava lamp. Now, if you weren't watching the Ludum Dare news feed shortly after the theme was announced, a ton of people just started posting like pictures of lava lamps and posting all about lava lamps, and it was just a really weird thing. I don't entirely know what sparked it. If you do, let me know down in the comment section below about what the heck was going on with that. So naturally, I feel like my options were to not have a lava lamp in the game at all, maybe have a small hint or a nod to a lava lamp or just something in the background, or go deep and make it the like main point of the game. And so I kind of decided to go with number 3. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna make the lava lamp the tower that destroys everything else on the playing field. So not only am I pretty pleased with the mechanic overall of the lava lamp, but I also think it turned out really nice. And again, that was just one of those things that I followed an online tutorial on, and it turned out really cool. So those are the things that went right during the development of Turbo Laser Arcade. Let's talk about some of the things that went wrong. So first, it took me way too long to come up with an idea for this game. After they announced the theme, which again was the more you have, the worse it is, I was initially like, okay, this is a cool little theme, I can work with this somehow. But nothing was coming to me right off the bat, so I kind of took a while to think about it because I really wanted my core game mechanic to tie into the theme. I think that would make a really unique game overall. But I was really just having a tough time to come up with a way that I could kind of fit that theme into the core mechanic of my game. And so I think I really just spent a lot of time thinking of an idea and then writing out brainstorms and doing little drawings and stuff like that, when I might have been a little bit better suited to just kind of coming up with an idea and getting to game development as quick as possible. So that first night I actually didn't do any game development at all, and I was a little disappointed with myself, but it's okay because I did make a game design document that night, which really ended up helping me in the long run. It was just a simple little thing that I could, put everything that needed to be in the game, and so it really helped me to track my progress during the rest of the development. And then, so this sort of leads into the second thing that went wrong, which was I don't think I really did a good job at incorporating the theme into my game. I spent all this time thinking and probably overthinking this theme, that what I eventually came up with was alright, but it didn't even end up working out in the end. So after I decided to make a tower defense game, I think what I was going for was something where the more money you have, the more difficult the enemies get. The faster they spawn and the stronger they are. And I was kind of going with that for a little bit, but as I started to make the game the next day and kind of start to think about it a little deeper, I kind of realized that you could probably just end up buying the cheapest tower over and over and over again, and the enemies would never really get difficult if you just kept spending your money. So in the end, I kind of came out with a pretty run-of-the-mill tower defense game that doesn't really incorporate the theme of the event, which is unfortunate because I really took pride in how I incorporated the theme into my Ludum Dare 39 game jam game. Again, I'll point you towards the Postmortem on that game so you can find out a little bit more about it. But this game didn't really have a whole lot of narrative either, which is something that I wanted to put into the game, but ultimately just had to get cut. And so that leads me into the third thing that went wrong with my game development, which is features I had to cut. Now, it's no surprise that I'd cut out a lot of features during a game jam, because if you've ever participated in one, you'll know damn well that you cannot finish everything that you set out to. You know, bugs pop up and you spend a lot of time on certain tasks that, you know, you really didn't expect it to take that long, but it did, and so now you have to cut some features that are maybe not as important. So for me, some of the features I had to cut were a tower movement system where you could actually move the towers around the map after you've already built it, which I was pretty far in the development on that feature, but ultimately I did not have enough time to finish it out. Another thing I had to cut was a tower upgrade system where you could select a tower and make upgrades on it, so you could like upgrade the range and how powerful the shots are. And I feel like that was something I could probably finish if I had like 2 or 3 more hours of game development. But ultimately it was not a critical feature to the game, so I had to cut it. There were a lot of like art and UI graphics that I just threw something kind of generic in there that I wish was just a little bit more thought out so it would kind of fit in the theme a little bit better, but ultimately did not have enough time for all that. And I think player feedback is something that's also super important, which I did not have a whole lot of in this game. But I mean, these are just like simple things that you can throw into your game, like having little explosions happen when you shoot the enemy. You know, just give the player a little bit more feedback so they feel like they're actually having an impact on what's going on in the game. And then the last thing I had to cut out completely was the audio. Now, so far, 0 of my 2 Ludum Dare games have had audio. I'm sure I'm going to have time to get it in there one day, but I am not an audio expert at all, and so really did not have any time to make any music or sound effects for my game, so had to cut it. Now, the fourth thing that went wrong was the balance of the game. You know, balance is a very tricky thing, and it takes a lot of time to, you know, do some fine tuning and get it right. And I don't think I completely failed at the balance of the game, because you can definitely play it and win and lose. And you know, there are different strategies that some definitely work and some definitely do not work. But ultimately, there is one strategy that if you know it, it's kind of game breaking. And so if you haven't played my game yet, don't do the strategy because it is a cheap way to win. But you can basically just buy the least expensive tower over and over and over again, because you really get a lot of firepower for the cost of the tower. I mean, you could do that if you like, but I think the game is a little bit more interesting when you're actually varying what types of towers that you buy. So balance could have been a little bit better, but it wasn't terrible. And so the fifth and final thing that went wrong during the development was that I stayed up way too late on Saturday night, which made me sleep in on Sunday, and I didn't have as much time as I'd have liked to get everything done and ready for the submission. You know, when I was staying up late on Saturday, I was working on the game, but I was also getting distracted and looking at what other people were doing to their game and stuff like that. So it wasn't exactly the most productive time, and again, I kind of slept in on Sunday, so that was a little bit unfortunate. But I did get the game submitted in time for the compo entry, and so again, I'm super proud of that. So anyways, those are the things that went right and wrong in my game, and so to wrap it up, I'd just like to say that I'm super happy with the game that I came out with. I mean, it could be better, but it is a pretty decent game overall. And again, I'm proud that it's a stable game with a pretty decent looking art style for someone who's not an artist at all. This was certainly an improvement off my last Ludum Dare game in many ways, and so I'm glad that I can kind of see myself progressing a little bit. And so will I ever come back to this game and do some more development on it? Realistically, probably not. Although this is a pretty decent game jam game, I don't really have any interest of adding in all the features I had to cut and adding other cool elements to the game. So I probably won't come back to it, but you never know. And last but not least, I cannot wait until Ludum Dare 41. These events have been so much fun, and it is always a marathon to the end, and it's really fun to see what everyone else came up with as well. So I think it's just a really great community, and I will definitely be participating in these as often as I can. And so with that, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching your video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of Turbo Laser Arcade, and if you made a game for the Ludum Dare 40 Game Jam, feel free to drop it down in the comment section below as well. I'll be sure to make an effort to go check out your game. And so anyways, I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Bye bye.